My name is Scott Lokers. I'm part of the Luminex team and deal a lot with transitions. Happy to be with you on Whiteboard Wednesday. Thanks for joining in. I want to share a tool that's been helpful to me in thinking about transitions. This is called, this diagram, the 3 phases of transition. It's by William Bridges from a book he wrote called Managing Transitions. And if you think about a transition, how it happens, it starts here. So we're going to start on the left side, and time is going to go and the experience moves this way. So there's an ending to whatever's happening now, and then a neutral zone, and then we cross over to a new beginning. So we're moving this way. And these three phases apply in all kinds of transitions. So if you think about the transition of a senior leader, a senior pastor in a congregation, for instance, that there is an ending time, a neutral zone, and then a new beginning. And this diagram would say there are people at different points, and they go through this experience at different rates in terms of managing the transition. So if you have a long-term pastor, you have some people that the ending part, they might find themselves down here on this graph, that the ending takes a long time for them to acknowledge, and they might have to mourn and grieve some of the loss that they're going to experience. This might be a pastor that they love dearly, that's helped them, they've had a close relationship, and to get to the neutral zone takes a while, and then to the new beginning. You might have somebody else in that congregation, and they might be new to the congregation, or they've not had that kind of relationship with the pastor, and they would find themselves up here, and the ending phase, they're ready to move on much more quickly. This could apply for all sorts of transitions. I served a congregation where we had a church fire. Our facility was a total loss due to a fire. And we were going through a transition, an ending to using that facility, a neutral zone, and then finally a new beginning. And we found ourselves at different points along this process. So I and some others were up at the top. We're ready to go. So we're thinking, yep, we lost our building, and that has some implications, obviously. But we had a member of our congregation step up, donate 12 acres just down the street from where we were, and we're ready to build a new building, a new ministry tool that would help us in great ways. Some of us are thinking, let's get going. And there are others in our congregation found themselves down here. Some emotional ties to a building. That might sound strange, but it actually is true. Significant things that had happened in that building, or a story I'll never forget. Young man, and he and his wife would worship with our congregation, and they would sit in the same pew almost every week. And I thought, well, that's just what they do. But he shared with me a story. He said how important that worship space was to him, because every Sunday they'd walk down the aisle and there would be a creak in the floorboard. And as soon as he would hear that, that became a holy moment for him. He came to recognize that as part of the voice of God. God saying, I'm here, you're here, let's worship. And so for him, the ending time much longer to get to the neutral zone and to ready to embrace a new worship space. How this helps us in terms of leadership is that we recognize different people go through transitions at different paces, and we recognize that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, we ought to expect that. That doesn't keep us from moving forward, doesn't keep us from moving through the transition, but what it can help us do as leaders and as others is that we're offering grace to those around us, realizing my experience is not the same as someone else's experience, and that we can acknowledge that, and together we can keep this movement going toward the new beginning God has for us. Hope that helps as you lead through transitions. Thanks.